The following is a special presentation of 4-Star Sports Media.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of the 4-Star Sports Show Roundtable edition. But it's only just me and Wes for right now. So everybody else is off this week. I know we got a couple of guys of watching their kids play baseball, and a couple of guys working nights, and two guys on vacation. So we're going to hold down the fort, West, about as best as we can.
We got it covered, man. We got it covered. There's plenty to talk about. There's some jabs being thrown.
Man, we're going to jump into this, and it's kind of evolved, and well, I say evolved. It's kind of devolved throughout the day, and it's just the story gets getting deeper and deeper, and we're going to jump into it in a few minutes. But I would be remiss if we didn't mention our sponsors, man. Sidecar Cafe. They've got two locations, one in Memphis and the brand new one in South Haven that we just went to, dude. And I had a blast down there.
Yeah, it's a blast, man. 2914 Whitten Road, right there at Whitten and Highway 40, and 4840 Venture Drive, South Haven, Mississippi, directly next to. They're sandwiched in between the Landry Center and Southern Thunder Harley Davidson. And man, it's a beautiful location. Kind of in the back a little bit, but not hard to get to at all. Both locations are happening. You got bike night going on down there tonight, as a matter of fact, in South Haven. So it's a great time, great food, great atmosphere. Everything about them is first class from the top to the bottom. Got to give a shout out to Sidecar Cafe as well. Brandon, I'm not Brandon. Zach.
Wow.
Oh man, Bum's still nursing that neck injury. He's still nursing neck injury. Zach, man, let me ask you a question. Nick Saban last night made a comment, said that I'll paraphrase. This is not a direct quote. It's a paraphrase, but he essentially said that Texas A&M paid for their entire recruiting class last season. I was in Mobile, as we all know. Brandon and I were down there for the Senior Bowl, and we went to the Senior Bowl Summit, which featured Nick Saban, amongst other college coaches. And Saban said in a room full of fans, media members as well, Alabama has never paid for a player, unquote. That's a direct quote from Nick Saban at the Senior Bowl Summit. The entire room chuckled. I looked at Brandon and said he's full of crap. You can't call people out. For those of you just now coming in, we're talking about Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher. Thank you for everybody watching right now. You can't call people out, Zach, and expect somebody not to give you backlash. Expect somebody not to fire back at you. But here's my thing. Why do you call out Jimbo Fisher and Deion Sanders? Because we all know Prime says what's on his mind no matter what the situation is. Whether it's practice or whether it's you just got called out because your player signed $1 million NIL deal. I mean, eventually this was going to happen. This was going to happen eventually. Somebody was going to call him out. Jimbo Fisher was 110% correct when he said some people have a God complex. They're right. He's right. But we in a way created that, Zach.
Well, I mean, this was going to come to a boiling point anyway once we found out that Texas A&M had the number 1 recruiting class. It was going to happen eventually. You've got this stems from 2 different ways. Okay, you've got a 5-star recruit that signs with an HBCU in Little Jackson State, and then you've got the number 1 recruiting class at Texas A&M. Everybody knows the last decade and a half, the number 1 recruiting class belongs to Alabama. It's almost textbook.
It is.
And
that player that went to Jackson State was originally going to go to Florida State.
Right.
So that I found very interesting. I mean, of course, there's the connection with Deion Sanders there. But Jimbo Fisher today in a press conference said it's despicable that we should have to sit up here and have this conversation. And then he said, he essentially said, go dig into Nick Saban. Talk to some guys that's coached with him and see what you find out.
Yeah,
I applaud Jimbo Fisher all day long.
That right there is a telling sign. Okay, but Wes, I want to back up a minute, okay? He accused Nick Saban, Nick Saban accused Jimbo Fisher of paying players, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Have we not been doing this for years under the table? Reggie Bush and USC. There's a couple of guys at Tennessee that have been accused of it. I mean, this has been going on forever. Now, here's the other side of that. They're called NIL deals.
Collectives, yes. Yes. Well, it's name, image, and likeness. And what Texas A&M did, or I believe that's what they did. I know other schools have. University of Memphis has as well. They have created collectives. It's where boosters and other people will pay money, and it's a way to get kids in. But here's the thing, man. A lot of people forget a young man by the name of Albert Means. Back in the day, he was from Memphis, Tennessee. Went to Alabama. His high school coach at Treadwell High School. I'm sorry, Tresvant High School, got caught cheating. Big time cheating. Alabama was put on probation. Albert Means ended up leaving Alabama, coming back to Memphis, playing at Memphis. Long story short. But let's not forget, this was happening at Alabama specifically prior to Nick Saban ever even being there. So,
and that's
there's not a clean slate here for Alabama, period, as a university.
But you got to also think too, there's got to be some skeletons in Nick Saban's closet somewhere.
Somewhere? You mean everywhere?
Exactly.
Go back and look. How many Alabama football players are on social media with brand new Chargers, brand new Challengers?
That's my point.
Wads of cash.
That's my point. Those aren't NIL deals.
How many car dealerships does Nick Saban own? Find that out, and you'll find some answers.
I didn't know he owned any dealerships. I didn't even know he owned any dealerships.
Yes, he does. And they're not like, Jim Bob's used cars down the road. They're freaking BMW dealerships. It's not like they're small time dealerships. Yeah.
So even if he retired from college football, the dude would still be making money because he's a car dealership. Look at guys here in Arkansas, man. Steve Landers, McClarty, the Everett family, which is big here in Saline County, West. But Frank Fletcher out of Fletcher Dodge Chrysler Jeep in Sherwood up in north central Arkansas. Dude, this was a boiling point, and it would get. You're getting in a slapping contest between probably the biggest names in college football right now, in Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban.
Yeah.
This is not going to end pretty for either side. This is not going to end pretty on either side. We've got a special guest coming up later on in the show who actually covers Alabama football. and he's a good friend of mine and a good friend of the show's. He's going to break it all down for us, though. But dude, where do we go from here?
Well, next up will be SEC Media Days, and that's going to be a absolute crap show.
Yeah.
There's
Do you remember, Wes?
There's now fans petitioning to have Jimbo and Nick on the same day.
Ooh, that's.
But I mean, here's the thing,
Ooh.
Zach. Here's my whole thing, and I'm not calling out Alabama. I'm just being real.
Yeah, you are. You're calling.
No, I'm not. I'm really not. I'm just being real about it. Here's the deal. Nick Saban wants to say, and I posted this on Facebook, so I've already made this statement. Nick Saban wants to complain about rat poison in his football program, right?
Right.
Okay. He creates it. He creates the rat poison.
Well,
you can't make statements. He makes it easy for us, media members and non-media members. He makes it easy for us. You call out people and you say let's just be honest, you make stupid comments like with Bryce Young, but you call out Jackson State. The state law says young man cannot sign an NIL deal until he is a player on the team. He is on the road. He is a member of the school.
We've talked about this several times, though, Wes. Okay, about that specific player in general, and you can't tell me, you cannot begin to tell me that there was not an NIL deal waiting for him.
Oh yeah, it's
waiting for him.
That's why Saban's mad. It's because what everybody else around the country's doing, he's been doing in Alabama for ages.
I mean, what did you expect? He's
still doing it with the NIL, with the portal.
He's not getting his way. So what's he going to do? He's going to cry to the freaking media and he's going to start slinging mud. But the problem is he feels like he's on this pedestal, okay? Yeah. He feels like he's on this untouchable pedestal that he can sling mud down at people. But the minute they start chucking that crap back at him, oh no, Big Daddy's going to get all butthurt.
Here's the thing. Let me ask you this, Zach. What are the odds that a young man from Louisville, wide receiver, very talented, enters the transfer portal and the next day he's at Alabama? How is there not tampering? How is there not tampering there?
It's textbook.
I mean, I'll call out USC. They did the same thing. The guy from what?
USC's been doing that for years, though. They've been doing that since Pete Carroll was there.
Oh, before that.
You know,
it's been years. I mean, Hollywood. Come on, there's always been stuff there. Yeah, always. I mean, and it happens all around the country.
Now, I will tell you this in the big scheme of things, though, Wes. In the big scheme of things, this is a whole lot more entertaining than Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
Well, somebody shit the bed, that's for sure.
Quite literally on both cases.
Yeah, but I mean, Zach, here's the thing, man. Here's the thing that I love about college football. Right here, this specific thing. Always something to talk about. There is.
But Wes, do you remember? You remember back in the day? The days before social media, where you'd have to wait until Big 10 media days, Big 12 media days, SEC media days, where these coaches would go back and forth, and then they'd settle it on the field.
Yeah.
And once it was settled on the field, nobody talked about it.
I mean, yeah. But I mean, back then, Zach, it was you went to the spring game, then you watched media days, or you found coverage of media days through newspapers or whatever, and then you found tidbits of sports talk radio, things like that, and then you went to the games. Like, you didn't have the coverage you do today, which thankfully we can bring it to you too. But it's different now, and it's different, but it's not, because it's been happening. Now it's legal, which is good. Don't get me wrong. I'm in total support of these players, men and women, getting paid for their likeness. I'm in 100% support of it. I have no problem with it.
I watched Jimbo's press conference earlier today.
Yeah.
And on a side note, does the man take a breath between sentences? Good God, man. He was like, you're talking about 70 players. 17, 18-year-old family. It's despicable. And I'm like, dude, take a breath. Slow down.
man, especially when he's talking about his team. Yeah, you got to watch him though, man, because like when he starts talking about his team, he'll talk in circles. I mean, actually when it comes to somebody, Jimbo Fisher is one of the best, man. He's great. But
He is.
kudos to
And
Jimbo
I
Fisher,
believe,
man.
isn't he?
Kudos to him.
There's a delay again, Wes. But isn't he part of the Nick Saban coaching tree?
Yeah, there is.
He was at LSU, wasn't it?
He was at LSU with him. Yeah,
he was a coordinator under Saban at LSU.
Yes, he was. He was the offensive coordinator.
Yeah. But the thing is, Wes, you got to remember
he will never go back and coach with him again. He said they're done.
Oh no, and I don't even think that they're going to be able to be friends now.
No,
because he said we're done. He won't even take a call from Nick Saban. But Wes, on the flip side of this, though, okay, on the flip side of this, now that Ross Bjork, athletic director for Texas A&M University, has reached out to Greg Sankey, commissioner of the SEC, and whined, and I'm going to say this, and I'm probably going to get kicked off the air, whined like a little bitch, and said, "You're making fun of me."
Saban can't do that. You can't call a school out for cheating.
No, but here's the thing. Greg Sankey comes out and goes, "I'm issuing a reprimand for Nick Saban for what he said." And then, Jimbo's in his office going, "Yes, good job." And then Greg Sankey goes, "And I'm also issuing a reprimand for Texas A&M for what they said."
You have to.
They're still gonna go on though, Wes. It's still going to go on. There's still gonna be mudslinging. And I'll tell you, this SEC Media Day is coming up in July, is probably going to be one of the best ones I've seen as far as mudslinging and trash talking since the old ball coach has been up there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to think of who else had a little riff back in the day. Oh, Mullen took some shots back in the day too.
But look where that got him.
It got him a number 1 overall rank in the country. I mean, that's I'll take that.
Yeah, but, and now he's culminated. It culminated him with out of job.
Well, he's actually working for a high school, but it's something. But man, when you look at these two coaches, they're going to have to answer these questions the rest of the year. The rest of every press conference from now on. I wouldn't be shocked if either one of them said, "Hey, we're not answering these questions anymore."
Oh, hands down. I 100% agree with that. Wholeheartedly. But at some point, Wes, at some point, somebody's going to have to put an ending to this. Whether it comes from the SEC, whether it comes from the NCAA, or whether it comes from the universities themselves, it's going to have to come to a penultimate ending somewhere, somehow.
It is, and it should come to an ending when they play each other, which is going to be a intense game.
That's going to be a very and the Alabama A&M rivalry has been going on for a long time since A&M entered the SEC in 2013, and it's only this only intensifies it.
It does, but I'm just.
By the way, for all the Arkansas fans watching, for all the Arkansas fans watching, it is a game update for you. Arkansas is at Alabama Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Is currently 3-0 Alabama. I believe in the third or fourth inning.
Also, our own Christian Johnston is there, and he will be at all 3 games for this series.
Yep. MC should be back next week. If you guys did not watch Inside the Hog Pen last week, please go back and watch it. Or this past week, please go back and watch it. There is an important message there regarding the future of Inside the Hog Pen. So go check that out. But Wes, I mean, there's so much to unpack. There's so much to talk about regarding the Fisher-Saban ordeal, because now you've got these two guys going at it, but we have to wait until tomorrow morning for it to be addressed by prime time. And that's going to throw a wrench, and that's going to throw a whole nother bag of crap into this, and it's going to stir the pot even more.
I don't think you want to mess with Prime, man. I really don't. Prime's that cat's going to tell you the way it is, and he don't care if you like it or not. I mean, very similar to Jimbo, right, but Prime's got a different delivery to him. Prime comes at you, and it feels like he's stabbing you a little bit. It's going to be very interesting to see what he has to say. We all know it's going to be probably earth-shattering, possibly. I
don't know, dude, but it's definitely going to it's something in regards to all of this, though. This is going to change the landscape of college football even more than it already is. And I hate that, because 10, 15, 20 years ago, you had to wait until fall.
Yeah.
And these players would go after each other to knock their heads off. And now you can't do that. Now there's so much politics. There's so many rules. Arkansas just hit a home run for Alabama. It is currently, I believe it is 3-2. 3-2, top of the fifth on a 2-run shot by who hit that? I believe that was Chris Lanzelli that hit that.
Nice.
I've heard that's I could be wrong.
That's a beautiful sports complex they've got down there for both men's baseball and women's softball down there on the campus of University of Alabama.
We're
talking about Alabama right now. What are the odds?
It don't touch Baum-Walker Stadium in Bogle Park, but that's just me.
Yeah, I feel you. But Zach, speaking of college football, man, season's right around the corner.
I know. I can't wait.
I can't either. I'm very excited. When you look, we'll just talk a little Arkansas here while we wait on Jonathan. But when you look at Arkansas, man, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, you've got Kendall Briles back. That's huge. You've got KJ in another year in Kendall Briles' offense, which is even more huge. You lose Traylon Burks to the NFL draft. You bring in the kid from Oklahoma. You also bring in a young man that played at Hazelwood. You also bring in a young man that started out at Georgia, then went to Toledo, now is at Arkansas, third team in 3 years. That's a weapon, major weapon. Then you've got a running back room that I think personally, by committee, could be a very dangerous backfield for Arkansas. Just on the offensive side of the ball, Zach, Arkansas coming into the year is looking to possibly improve on that 10-win season last year.
Yeah, this is probably one of the best running back rooms I've seen since, and I'm going to say this, since the Houston Nut days. Granted, you had, in Brett Bielema's days, you had Alex Collins, Jonathan Williams. You had guys like Niall Davis, Dennis Johnson. You could throw Raleigh Williams in there. But this is probably the most loaded running back room I've seen since the three-headed beast with Darren McFadden, Felix Jones, and Peyton Hillis. Not as talented, not as star-studded. I'm not going to say not as talented, but not as star-studded as those three guys were. But the talent level is there. Now, yes, you lose 90% of your receiver, your offensive production in Traylon Burks going to the Tennessee Titans. And kudos to him for going, man. Very happy for him. He signed his contract. I believe it's 4 years, $14 million.
Yeah.
Was the number. But when you have an offense and when you keep your coordinator, for starters, when you keep your coordinator and you've got the same coordinator and quarterback going at the same time another year, that changes the dynamic of this offense, because you let that quarterback get another year of progression. You see more maturity out of this guy. Is he gonna win the Heisman? No. I hate to say it, but no. Should he be in contention and conversation? Absolutely. Absolutely he should. It's yet to be seen how these guys are going to gel, though. I don't think you're going to see, Wes, the problems that we had when we played Rice the first game last year, where we kind of stumbled out of the gate. I don't think you're going to see that just because this is the second full year they've had in pads in spring. They've had a full spring. They've got the summer workouts. They're going to have fall ball. I think you're going to see they're going to build off the 9-win season last year, and you could possibly see them rising in the college football playoff rankings very, very early. And I've got to say, I've got Texas A&M circled on our calendar just to see how we do. And Wes, I'm going to give you a hot take. I think Arkansas beats Alabama this year. I think this is the year that Arkansas beats Alabama.
I said it in preseason. I think this is. I called it last year when I said Arkansas was going to beat A&M and LSU. And then I really do. I agree. I think Arkansas beats A&M, but I will say this: that first game against Cincinnati, that's going to be a test for Arkansas.
Oh, absolutely.
I will say that. There's a lot of Arkansas fans that are overlooking that game. You cannot do that because Cincinnati is real.
And here's the thing, Wes, that most people don't understand. These aren't cupcake games anymore.
No.
With the landscape of college football the way that it is nowadays, none of the non-conference, especially for Arkansas, is not a guarantee. I mean, you got Cincinnati, you go to BYU. Your first maybe cupcake team, maybe Bobby Petrino's return to Fayetteville for the first time with Missouri State. That one I think is
not bad.
And that team's not bad, but
no,
I think
they're not.
But they're not as crazy as they're not as stout as a Cincinnati or a BYU. We're gonna step back and we're gonna take a quick break. When we get back, we're gonna bring on Jonathan Lewis of College Football Talk and get his thoughts on Saban versus Fisher. You're watching the. Let me find this here. Hold on a second, Wes. I gotta find the button. There we go. You're watching the 4-Star Sports Show's Roundtable on this Thursday night edition on the 4-Star Sports Radio Network. Back after this.
Hey fans, did you know that 4-Star Sports Media now has a YouTube channel? You can catch exclusive content covering all things Memphis Tigers and the Arkansas Razorbacks. Shows like The Point, and the only show on social media about the Arkansas Razorbacks that is purely fan-driven inside the Hog Pen. Plus other shows like The Hog Trough, The 4-Star Sports Show, and many more coming soon. So check them out today. Go on YouTube.com and search 4-Star Sports Media.
Welcome back to the 4-Star Sports Show's Roundtable on the 4-Star Sports Radio Network. I'm Razorback Zach from Inside the Hog Pen, joined by Wes Pruitt from The Point. And Jonathan Lewis is our guest. He is from College Football Talk on YouTube. Before we jump in with Jonathan, I got to give you a score update because during the break, Caden Wallace for the Arkansas-Alabama game, Caden Wallace hit a 3-run bomb. It is now 5-3 Arkansas, top of the 5th inning in Tuscaloosa. So I had to throw that out there because Jonathan is an Alabama fan. And Jay, what's going on with you, buddy?
Man, it has been crazy busy. Let me tell you something right now. Today has been wild to say. I've never had so many messages dude, my voice is about gone at this point from talking and being. I've literally been on like 4 or 5 shows today. Yeah, it's been wild, man. But I love it. I love what's going on.
When this thing started to unfold, I told Wes, I said, I've got a guy that we need to get on the show, and we need to get him on tonight. And man, this thing has unfolded, and like Wes and I were talking before the break, this was going to happen eventually with the way with the landscape of college football. And when the ranking came out that A&M got the number 1 ranking in recruiting, the number 1 recruiting class, what are you hearing from the Alabama side of things on how this is starting to unfold?
So if you're connected inside of Alabama in the first place or A&M, you already knew this was preconceived. This was going to happen. Why? Because this has already happened. For the people that don't know this, Nick Saban's already made comments about A&M's recruiting class. This is nothing new. This was made months ago. So Nick Saban already kind of threw the gas on the fire, essentially. And this was waiting to be done, I guess. And look, guys, I don't want to blow this out of proportion too much because I want to get your guys' takes on this as well. Because like I said, I haven't had a chance to get on here and listen lately. But here's the thing. I'll start off with this. With everything that Nick Saban said, I don't know if you guys watched the whole interview referring to A&M buying players. I think there was an overreaction from the very beginning. Why? Because we're so used to hearing buying players is a bad thing. It's illegal. It's not anymore, guys. It's completely legal in the NIL system. As long as the university doesn't promote and recruit it, as long as the coach doesn't make contact with a transfer portal player before he enters the transfer portal, it's legal. So when I go and look at this, remove my bias standpoint, remove my emotions from it, when Nick Saban says A&M got the number 1 recruiting class, they bought all their players. Is he wrong? No. It's just people are going to take offense to it because they think you're cheating. They didn't cheat to do it. They just found a loophole and they exposed it. And I think really the main point that that Nick Saban was trying to make was lost in all the inflammatory name droppage from all of this, in my opinion. I think the bigger picture was like, look, guys, regulation needs to be put in place. These windows need to be adjusted, but everybody forgot that because the only thing they hear is Jimbo Fisher cheated to get 30 recruits to have the number 1 recruiting class. When in all reality, if you go watch Jimbo's reaction saying that Nick Saban accused him of cheating and violating, he didn't. So in my opinion, it was just Nick Saban saying some comments, and then Jimbo Fisher, in my opinion, overreacting to the comments, and then it went downhill from there. I don't know if you guys know, but Jimbo Fisher and the Texas A&M AD went to Greg Sankey.
Yeah, we saw that.
So you got that going on, and then obviously come to find out they actually, they put, I forgot what they call it, but they basically sanctioned both of them. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a reprimand.
Reprimanded both of them, whatever that's supposed to mean. Essentially, play nice guy, slap on the wrist. But I honestly think what it comes down to, what's being lost in all of this bullcrap, is the point Nick Saban was trying to make, which was what? We need to regulate this. We need to put a cap on it to create more parity. We need to create windows for transfer portal, for recruiting, to align all this stuff. And I feel like because he name dropped, and that was bad on him. He shouldn't have done that. That, in my opinion, was, well, you created the flame there. You know what I mean? You poured the gas on. But that is, from me watching the video, that's my take from it. Right? As far as everything else, what's being said, it's just overreaction, guys. Like, this is going to go away in probably a week or two, in my opinion, now that I go back and look at it. So, yeah, I don't know. I know Jimbo released some skeletons out of the closet. He's really trying to go after Nick Saban now. I can guarantee you that Texas A&M, Alabama will probably be a game day game. I
hope it is. And
yeah,
I hope it's a primetime game too. I hope it's not a 2:30 on CBS.
No, I guarantee
I hope it's a 6, 7, or 8 o'clock game on ESPN.
It'll be 7 o'clock.
And there's so much lost in this conversation. And to show you how heightened it was, you have, Dion, unfortunately, being the one that was kind of caught in the crosshairs here, which is why he made that tweet last night or early this morning when his son showed him. And now you have him backing off of it. You know what I mean? So him realizing, because Nick Saban tried to call Jimbo Fisher and supposedly explain, hey, this wasn't a slight to Texas A&M. I'm just stating the facts. You know what I mean? Like, we're not saying you were wrong, you were violating the rules, you cheated, because that was never anything you said that was not there. And I feel like he probably reached out to Dion and said the same thing. Like, look, what you did, you know what I mean? If it was done in this way, which I said, then it was illegal. But I'm not saying you broke the rules. You know what I mean? That's what it comes down to. And I feel like people take words and they twist it, you know what I mean? Or they hear what they want to hear and run with it. And that's how this thing just exploded and it got out of hand. But I'll tell you one thing, I will be at that Alabama-Texas A&M game because I'm going to be real interested to see what that handshake's going to look like if there is one.
Yeah,
So,
I 100% agree on that one. Wes, did you have something?
Yeah, man. So I was down at the Senior Bowl in Mobile this year. I was at the Senior Bowl Summit, which included Nick Saban. He made a comment that Alabama has never paid. Actually, it was a direct quote. He said, "Alabama has never paid for a player."
bro. We all know Alabama's paid
why
for
say
players.
that?
Because
that's what I'm saying. Like,
it's
why
a play
say
on
that?
words.
I mean,
it's a play on words. If there's one thing that as an Alabama fan, if you pay attention close enough, look, outside of Alabama fans that really pay attention to what Nick Saban does, you're not going to catch on to what Nick Saban does because you have to watch his press conferences, which most fans, YouTubers don't do. So what they do is they see a 10-second clip, a 30-second clip, and run with it. What they don't see is the full interview and the context that Nick Saban is giving to lead up to that segment. If you watch the full interview on the one where he starts talking about Texas A&M paying for players, he talks about how it's not illegal to do this. But was that ever shown? No, it was not. The context, it's just like media with politicians. They don't show.
I was going to say the way that the media has portrayed this is Saban. You know, and it started back, like I said, it started back when the rankings were released and when A&M got it. It was A&M got the number one recruiting class. Saban got butthurt because he's so used to getting the number one recruiting class. So he calls out A&M. A&M slaps back, and Saban makes another comment that is kind of slighted by the media towards primetime in Jackson State, and here we are.
Bro, let me tell you something. Jimbo got baited in by his own media. That's exactly what happened.
Absolutely.
He bit into his own media, and that's what I don't think a lot of people are understanding and looking at. It's like, bro, should Nick Saban name dropped? Absolutely not. But here's the thing about it. What's the best way to get the attention of your boosters saying, I need more money? It's just like Ty Hayes, me and him were just talking on CTS as well earlier. The best way to do it is name drop. Your boosters are in front of you at this public event. Hey, A&M is paying to have the number one recruiting class, and we don't know if we can maintain that. What is that telling the boosters without illegally telling them we need more money? It's telling them, bro, we need more money to keep up with this.
Yeah.
It's cause and effect. If he had to bury Jimbo Fisher,
great point.
Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to look at this, guys. All I know is I try to come at it from every angle, and the most logical one to me was him basically saying, look, boosters, we need to pony up more money if we want to keep up with this until a cap's put in place. Texas A&M did not do it illegally, but they found the best loophole, and we better take advantage of it if that loophole is still there. So,
yeah, absolutely, Jay. And the thing about it is you and I've spoken about it on your show several times, and Wes, we've gone around and around with it since the inception of it. There has to be some kind of regulation from the beginning. Otherwise, it's going to get way out of hand, and you're going to have 17, 18, 19-year-old kids making more money than the NFL players are.
Well, do you know what SB 1401 is? Because if you don't, you better learn. SB 1401 is a California law that just got put in place. They're trying to pass through.
The one where it gets like 50% of the 50% rule.
50% of all college revenue. Football, men's basketball, women's basketball will go directly to those athletes on top of the NIL. So you will have college players making more than NFL players. They said the potential of a 5-star quarterback will be 10 to 20 million. That's
Holy
insane.
Crap.
And if California is the only one to pass that law, which we know won't happen, but if they are, where do you think the recruits are going?
They're going to the West Coast, dude. UCLA, USC, Cal.
Exactly. And you best believe, just like the NIL, because California people don't realize California was the one that started the NIL. They were the ones that initiated it. Well, they're initiating this. Everybody else will have to catch up, right? And I guarantee you every single state will be caught up before the season or whenever California is supposed to pass it. And that people aren't paying attention to the minute details like that. SB 1401, you don't ever hear about it. Well, you don't hear about it as much, and it needs to be talked about a lot.
Guys, y'all don't think this thing's actually going to pass, do you?
I do, 100%. You know why?
I do.
Because California has been advocating to getting rid of certain programs in sports already. The first one was Stanford sailing, then it was fencing, and then it was archery. And guess what this bill kills? Any unfunded sports, and all those are unfunded sports. They even said it's a possibility of baseball teams going away in smaller programs.
Are we talking like lower? Are we talking lower Division I or like Division II and III?
Like Division II and III baseball programs. No, you won't see like a USC baseball or Alabama or Arkansas, but I'm talking about. But even then, you have to think about something. That means scholarships are being stripped from those programs.
Mm-hmm.
That's money that's being poured into these guys that already is getting NIL money. You know what I mean? So we need to start focusing on that, and we need to start focusing on another thing, the alignment of the transfer window to the recruiting window. Because let me tell you something, the worst case scenario, I follow recruiting very close. The worst case scenario that's going to happen is if you have those two windows intersect for recruiting starting and transfer ending. Why is that a big deal? Because you don't want these recruits to start decommitting when players are starting to move in the transfer portal.
Yes.
That could be a huge problem. I mean, and nobody's even considering this possibility right now. They're like, well, what if people start jumping in the transfer portal based on recruiting movements? Because if those two start intersecting and that window stays, you know what I mean? Like intersected like that, bro, it's going to get ugly really quick. So, because it's already started. It's already started this year, but the 2023 class hasn't felt the full effect of it yet. But if this window doesn't close, it will. And it's going to get really ugly really quick. So that's just something to think about. Outside
Jonathan,
of that,
my internet's a little bit delayed. Oh, go ahead.
You know, you're good. You're good. I was pretty much
a little
done.
bit delayed, man. I apologize. Talking about the recruiting side, this is very intriguing to me. My concern is that you're going to have it's just going to kill high school recruiting. Am I on the right path of my thinking, or am I way off?
You're actually on the opposite side. This is going to completely kill the transfer portal. Do you know why? Because you're going to have, well, I guess no, not really. It will balance if the system works perfect, but we know the system won't work perfect, right? We can already know the NCAA will not regulate this the way it needs to be regulated. We can assume that's what's going to happen. What you're probably going to end up seeing, because as we three know, or you should know, that a scholarship is year to year. You don't sign a 4-year scholarship. So what could happen, we're going to use the scenario of Arkansas. Arkansas gets a class of 25, and by the way, the 25 limit's going away. So we'll just say you get a class of 25 people, right? And 3 or 4 of these 5 stars or 4 stars don't pan out. The bottom half of your roster you don't like. So you're going to pull 40 scholarships, because you know that in this upcoming recruiting class, you have a lot of talent in Arkansas. So you can offer 40 scholarships, not 25. The limit's going away. There's only going to be an 85 hard cap. So these windows, that's why it's so important to pay attention to the windows, because what could happen is these coaches can yank the bottom half of the roster, 30 to 40 scholarships, and then plug them into the high school recruiting rink. So you can see an uptick in recruiting actually and a downtick in transfer portal. Or if it's the window swapped, you're going to see a deregulation and, a lower stance in the recruiting, and transfer portal is everything. It flip-flops. So it's going to be dependent on the window and how that window lines up. Like I said, it's a lot to think about, man. The NCAA and like Nick Saban said, the legislation that's put in place, they have a lot of work to do, because this could get even worse than what it already is. So yeah, does that answer your question? Hopefully.
Man, perfectly.
But yeah, man, when you look at this whole thing between the two, it's pretty wild, man. Like it's irritating, but it makes for good news, right? We can all agree on that, I think.
Yeah. Chuck Pendergrass has a question for you, Jay. He says, will this get so screwed up that the big conferences leave the NCAA and start over with a new league?
Oh man, let me tell you something real quick. For people that don't, once again, keep up.
We got time.
With
Go ahead.
The semantics of this. In case people don't know, when Oklahoma and Texas comes over to the SEC, there's a seismic movement that will happen that nobody's paying attention to. The NCAA will no longer be the big boy on the block. The SEC will bypass them in the revenue. The SEC, when Texas and Oklahoma comes over, will be funded $1.1 billion per year, where the NCAA is only funded $1 billion per year. So where do you think the power is going to happen? Why does the SEC need the NCAA anymore? Bro, the SEC could be like, we don't need you. We're going to have our own league. We're going to have our own championship. See ya. And that's why the other three, mainly the Pac-12, you know what I mean, the Big Ten, the ACC right now are screaming. They're going, no, we need to join together before the SEC basically separates themselves from everybody else because the revenue is already bypassed the NCAA. That's just something to think about. I mean, money, man, it all comes down to money. And when the SEC is making more than the regulatory body, you've got major issues. So, yeah. Next. No, it's crazy. It's chaos, essentially, what's going on right now. And when you think about it from a standpoint of people thinking this is bad already, folks, we haven't even entered the season yet. Think about what happens when we enter the 2023 recruiting cycle. I mean, it's already getting chaotic with the transfer portal.
Speaking of Alabama, let's talk a little bit. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead. I was pretty much done.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. When you look at Alabama, man, this year coming up, of course, they're loaded and they don't rebuild, they reload every year. Talk a little bit about this team this year and just how good they may can be.
Well, I'll say this. The defense has been a drop-off, right, in the past 3 to 4 seasons with Pete Golding as the defensive coordinator. Granted, one of those years was heavily injured. We were starting our 5th and 6th string linebackers. So I think, you know what I mean, like we can expect a drop-off from that. The defense, though, even last year didn't look that good. What I will say is that we made the championship based on that defense with a really good offense. 9 of 11 starters are coming back on defense. Will Anderson, who I think should have been, in my opinion, and I'm not trying to be biased here, but when you look at Aiden Hutchinson getting in over him was kind of crazy, in my opinion. Probably a Heisman Trophy finalist. Does he deserve to win it? Probably not, but at least a finalist. I mean, he won the Defensive Player of the Year award, for God's sakes. Yeah. But outside of him, you're talking about Dallas Turner, you're talking about Jordan Battle, the best safety, close to Catalan, who I really like at Arkansas. He's somebody I follow a lot, actually. They're, in my opinion, neck and neck at the safety position. And then you talk about Jalen Moody, highly touted 5-star linebacker coming up, replacing him. Henry Atoto coming back on defense. You're talking about Burrows in the middle, making a name for himself. And then, obviously, I think I mentioned him already, but Dallas Turner coming off the edge on the other side of Anderson. The defense should be top 5, at least, if not top 3. If it's not, I'm looking at the defense coordinator because we've been lacking it, it seems like, almost every year. When it comes to the offense, you got Bryce Young coming back, obviously Heisman Trophy winner, key position. We bring in Jamar Gibbs from Georgia Tech. We bring in Jermaine Burton, obviously, from Georgia. We bring in Tyler Steen, the offensive tackle from Vanderbilt. You know, we brought in pretty much everything we possibly needed. Eli Ricks at cornerback, but obviously getting, arrested for marijuana and speeding and no insurance obviously doesn't help his situation, even though he wasn't going to be a starter anyways, and everybody's making a fuss of that. Kyrie Jackson was going to have a spot. But overall, there's no reason Alabama should not win the championship this year. It's championship or bust this year. Last year, I said they weren't going to even make the playoffs. I said Georgia was going to win the SEC, which I was wrong about. And I said Oklahoma was going to win the championship. Of course, that was before the season started. But you kind of get where I'm going with this. Alabama should win the SEC. They should win the title because who we have coming back. This is the most we've had coming back almost ever when you're talking about classes. And the one key thing everybody's looking past, this is the first time in a long time that Alabama's had consistently the same offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator coming back. It's been a long time since Alabama's seen that for 3 years in a row. Like, you know what I mean, since Bill O'Brien came in for 3 years, and now you're looking at Pete Golden there now for 4, going on 5 years. We haven't seen that in a long time. So consistency is key with the coaching staff, in my opinion, and that's ultimately what could win you a championship. And Georgia will be tested with that this year with Dan Lanning leaving. And we bring in Todd Grantham from Florida. I'm not a big fan of him, but the guy knows how to blitz. He knows how to create pressure, and you give him Will Anderson and Dallas Turner, and you may have some serious problems. So
you've had your say so about Todd Grantham down there at Alabama.
buddy.
I remember that. Jay,
Yep.
before we get out of here tonight, tell everybody how they can find you and where they can watch you and a little bit about your show.
All right, so college football, Jonathan Lewis on YouTube, at College FB Lewis on Twitter. From Alabama, born and raised, lived in Arkansas as well, actually in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Been to Memphis a lot, so I know you guys have a lot of affiliation with Memphis, obviously, driving through there.
Yeah.
But other than that, man, like my channel is all about college football. It's not a biased channel. I don't just do Alabama content. I actually do. Lately, it's more Oklahoma and more USC, just wherever the stories and the recruiting's happening. That's typically where I flow to. But other than that, yeah.
Wesley's had me on a couple times, man, and it is a blast being on his show. So, Jay, we appreciate you joining us, man, and looking forward to the season and having you on a lot more. Maybe we can all, maybe we can all do a crossover show one time this season. But y'all check him out. It's College Football Talk with Jonathan Lewis on YouTube. And Wes, you got anything else for Jay before we cut him loose tonight?
Man, Jonathan, thank you very much for coming on with us, man. You've got great content. You're very knowledgeable, and we definitely want to have you back on during the college football season. And then hopefully we can do a little bit of collaboration with you too. Thank you very much, man. You brought great insight to a wild day in college football.
Dude, I appreciate it, guys. Always.
We'll see you later, Jay.
Have fun, guys.
That was Jonathan Lewis of College Football Talk on YouTube. Man, he is that dude. That cat's smart, man. He knows what he's doing, and he knows his craft.
Man, he knows his stuff, man. When it comes to Alabama, I don't know why you would reach out to anybody other than Jonathan Lewis to talk Alabama.
Exactly. That's why when this story broke,
guy's knowledgeable, man.
That's why when this story broke, dude, I was like, I've got the perfect guy to come on and talk about this. He knows the program. He knows it very, very, very well.
Most definitely.
You got anything else you want to talk about tonight?
Not really, man. Honestly, this Jimbo Fisher, of course, it's not over. Primetime still has to give his rebuttal tomorrow. And we may just jump back on here tomorrow and talk a little bit more about it, maybe before Inside the Hog Pen cranks up. But Zach, man, it's been a good night.
Inside the Hog Pen is on its Inside the Hog Pen's on its summer hiatus until SEC Media Days.
That's right.
And so we've had our season. No, you're good. You're good. We've had our season finale. Had a major announcement regarding the future of it. And if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. It's on our Facebook page. Also, I had two final thoughts this week. I've done a lot of thinking, and it goes hand in hand with the major announcement that we made. I'm not going to spoil it, but and then the other one was I gave a little congratulatory note and a little life advice to the graduating class of 2022. My niece is graduating from Cabot High School tomorrow, so I will be unavailable if for some reason we've got breaking news and need to go live. One last note that we didn't mention last night because it broke today, West. Stephanie McMahon takes a leave from the WWE to, quote, spend time with family. And we all know she is married to Paul Levesque, a.k.a. Triple H. We've got clarification just before the show started that this was not in regards to his health, so nobody's dying or anything of the sort. It's just to spend time with him and their three girls.
Yeah. It's just a little. I guess it's a little work-life balance, which everybody needs.
Everybody needs a little time every now and then.
That's how you find the sweet spot. So, but yeah, man, it's been a great night talking sports. Jonathan Lewis came on and did an incredible job. I will get this uploaded pretty quickly and get it over on the website. That way everybody can listen to it over on Apple, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, everywhere we are. We're all over social media and the podcast world. Also, don't forget to go to our website, 4star.live, and you can listen live as well while we're live on air. Zach, man, it's been a great night. Thank you very much for hosting tonight.
Yes, sir. One last announcement from my Arkansas crew. August 27th, 7 p.m., War Memorial Stadium. It is the 2022 Salt Bowl, kicking off the official start of high school football here in the state. I will be there live. Wes, I don't know about you. I know you've got some prior engagements you were going to try to work around, but I will be there live. So if you see me walking around in my 4-star shirt, please come by and say hi. We love hanging out and talking to our fans. And I'll be doing live shots from there all night. I will try to get with Coach Buck James and Benton High School coach. I forget his name. I'm running on fumes here, Wes. I haven't slept.
You got to get that interview. I mean, I started it last year with the interview. You got to get that interview this year.
I'm gonna get it. I'll make sure I get it. But y'all make sure to tune in. Come out. Tickets go on sale end of June, I believe, June or July. But like I said, we'll have all that info up once it becomes available. By the way, bottom 6 at last checks, 5-3. Arkansas leads it in Tuscaloosa in a must-win series. Game 1 tonight. Game 2 is tomorrow. Connor Nolan is on the bump. So, Wes, if there is nothing else, man, you've been watching the 4-Star Sports Show Roundtable Edition. I'm Razorback Zach from Inside the Hog Pen. He's Wes Pruitt from The Point. Until next time,